Hello, Chloe. Hello, Ida. I'm coming to you from a very rainy June evening this time, and I have just got back from seeing Wonder Woman, so I'd like to tell you a bit about my thoughts and feelings towards the movie because I really enjoyed it, which was not expected. I did not expect to enjoy this movie. So, first, a little context, a little backstory as to why I was going in expecting this movie to be kind of crap, is that the DC movies have been, I wouldn't say hit or miss. I would say they've been a miss. Like I really love the Batman Nolan movies, the Nolan Batman movies, but I do not like Man of Steel and I do not like Batman vs Superman. I think that they are kind of just dumb. And well, all right, they try to be smart actually. They try and have some thoughts, but their good bits are definitely lost among their bad bits, and it's actually kind of a shame because whenever I watch them, okay, it's this side of my head that's acting up. Whenever I watch them, it is very clear that there's a good movie in there, and it's kind of like tragic in a way that this Man of Steel movie that's supposed to be about like um, Superman finding his place among humans and finding what he means relative to them, and this heroic struggle like that followed by Batman vs Superman, where it's like this godlike being who's regarded as like who's deified by the people he protects, and like the person who challenges him because why should this man who is above all other men be like treated as a god or entrusted with the powers of right and wrong that God has? Like these are very strong ideas to base a movie around. It's actually kind of bold to go in that direction, but hour and a half long fight scenes, soundtracks that are kind of ugly. Small gripe, I know, but um, story pacing that makes no sense, characters that are lame, lines that are lame, well, direction which is ugly, cinematography that's gross looking. Yeah, a story cannot be carried on its theme. It can have the most awesome, fascinating theme in the universe, but if it is not paced right, if the characters aren't interesting, if the plot isn't worth giving a shit about, then the theme will not carry it. And the DC movies have so far been ugly and lame, and the awesome themes cannot carry them. So that brings us to Wonder Woman. Now, Wonder Woman is actually probably one of my favorite DC superheroes. I really like The Flash. He might beat her out just because of him getting better treatment as a character. But Wonder Woman was definitely my favorite for a long time and continues to be like, right up there, right behind The Flash. And that is because she had an excellent writer at one point in her existence. She was at one point written by Gail Simone, who is a writer for DC and Dynamite, and comic book writers get passed around a bunch. But Gail Simone is one that everybody wants because she's one. I hope my camera can pick up the thunder. But Gail Simone is one of those writers that everybody wants because she is so good at taking characters and making them amazing. She also did a run of Red Sonja, which I absolutely loved, that again, going in there expecting it to be lame, but ends up being awesome. So she wrote Wonder Woman. I believe she wrote the genocide storyline, which I'll get to when I talk about the movie itself. But she wrote Wonder Woman as sort of like Conan the Barbarian plus one. And I guess now I have to kind of explain Conan. But Conan the Barbarian, that is, or rather, Conan the Cimmerian, because Marvel made him Conan the Barbarian, and Conan the Barbarian is a lame character. Conan the Cimmerian, the character made by Robert E. Howard in the 1920s, is a fascinating character because Conan the Cimmerian is from outside of civilization, and so gets to go into civilization and examine it and point out the strangeness of civilization. Conan can be used to criticize religion and economy and, all sorts of facets of society that we take for granted. The stuff that we even forget to be edgelords about. Conan can be an edgelord about, and he'll speak with, like, complete conviction and certainty that'll make him convincing. And so Conan is an interesting character for that reason, and Wonder Woman has the same thing, where she comes from outside of our society, and she gets to look at our society and appraise it for what it is, not what she has any preconceptions of what it should be or is supposed to be or anything like that. However, in addition to coming from the outside, she has beliefs and fundamentals of her own that she brings in from where she comes from. Conan the Cimmerian is from a completely barbaric nation, hence Conan the Barbarian, and so kind of has a very bare-bones, social Darwinistic, the strong will survive, the weak will die type mentality, even if he doesn't, like, push that belief on other people, even if he isn't going to conquer kingdoms himself, even though he accidentally does. He does not, or he comes from that kind of society, whereas Wonder Woman comes from a society of, like, Greece, senates, democracy, justice, theater, all these different cultural aspects that make her the person who she is, and you end up seeing that in the movie, and it's really well reflected in the movie, which I was extremely happy about. But anyways, Wonder Woman is a fascinating character because she both speaks about society and to society from the outside of society, and also has her own voice as an individual. And from that metric, judging whether or not they adapted those strengths of Wonder Woman as a character, I'm not sure how deliberate it was, but I would say definitely yes. And this is important because there are some aspects to Wonder Woman's character, the things that make her second to the Flash in terms of my favorite DC heroes, that have been misadapted, that have been mishandled by DC. You see, there was an event in DC Universe called Infinite Crisis, and there was a bunch of comics leading up to Infinite Crisis called, I believe, Countdown to Infinite Crisis. Infinite Crisis, in my opinion, was one of the better events that DC had ever done. And in the build-up to it, they had a character named Maxwell Lord, who was a good guy for a lot of, like, early 2000s DC comics, but was building up to a bad guy, and in retrospect, it was, like, totally obvious, but no one caught it. Maxwell Lord was a guy who was mostly human, except for the fact that he could push thoughts. He could, it was like suggestion, hypnotic suggestion, where he could use his mind to get people to do things for him by command, by compelling a voice. Like the Purple Man, except he can only do it on one person at a time, and there was obvious physical side effects where his nose would start bleeding, and everybody would know that he was doing this. Maxwell Lord at one point convinced Superman that, I know he fought Wonder Woman in Countdown to Infinite Crisis. I believe he convinced Superman that Wonder Woman was Doomsday and that Doomsday was trying to kill Lois Lane. And so Superman fought Wonder Woman as if she was Doomsday, trying to kill Lois Lane. Wonder Woman was able to survive because it's Superman, you don't, like, kill him, and it's Wonder Woman, so he doesn't kill her. But Maxwell Lord made it abundantly clear to Wonder Woman that if he wasn't killed, he would get Superman on his side. He would always control Superman, and that made him, Superman plus evil. Maxwell Lord controlling Superman, like a guy who has these ambitions of controlling super people or eliminating super people, because that was the plot of Infinite Crisis basically, and he has control of Superman. And he told this to Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman, had the lasso of truth around him. She knew for a fact that his plan was to eliminate other super people using Superman as a weapon. So she snapped his neck. Batman and Superman don't kill people. I mean, I think Superman does kill, like, space gods and creatures that are non-human, but he makes a point to not kill humans. And Wonder Woman does not have as many scruples. Earlier in her history, Wonder Woman actually beheaded the villain Medusa for obvious reasons. She was a Gorgon lady. It's not hard to see why, like, Medusa is beheadable without guilt. And the same reason that, like, Superman can kill Darkseid and no one gives a shit. It's Darkseid. He's basically Satan. It's okay to kill Darkseid. But Wonder Woman beheaded Medusa. Medusa used to be human, though, I think. I don't actually know. But Medusa had some humanity in her. It was pretty clear that Medusa was not Satan, and Wonder Woman killed her anyways. And this is interesting, or this was interesting at first as just like a thing that she did, and it's like, whoa, damn, Wonder Woman's badass. She'll just, like, kill a villain if they get in her way. But it was Medusa, and she was monstrous, and so, it was, like, semi-risky, where she killed a villain, but it was a villain that was not necessary. It was like, killing a tiger. A tiger can't not try to eat you. It's a creature of instinct. And so Then she killed Maxwell Lord. In fact, she snapped Maxwell Lord's neck on TV, like in front of millions of people. Everybody knew that Wonder Woman killed Maxwell Lord with her fucking bare hands. And this was a very intense and very satisfying moment for the DC Universe because it kind of solved a lot of questions. It's like, well, why doesn't Batman just kill the Joker? It makes so much sense. It's like Batman is restricted by like his belief in the justice system, that if he delivers these people and the information that will expose them to the justice system, he'll be let go, and it's or those people will he'll be fine. He'll be morally in the right, and the justice system, if it works, can convict these people, and if they escape, that sucks. But all that matters is that justice system functions, that society has a way of dealing with these people and can fight them. And, Batman believes in that. Wonder Woman does not. She's from Themyscira. She doesn't give a shit about the American justice system. If she thinks that Maxwell Lord will beat the American justice system, like, she doesn't have the faith that Batman has. If she thinks that the American justice system will fall to Maxwell Lord, she'll just fucking kill Maxwell Lord. She is Themysciran justice. Or if Themysciran justice isn't there, then she just kind of has to do what she thinks is right. And killing Maxwell Lord when he is using a Superman-sized gun to threaten the world into submission, yeah, that's what she believes is the right thing to do. So she'll do it. And drawing that line, saying Batman believes in something that Wonder Woman does not, Wonder Woman believes in killing this man when Batman does not, is awesome for everybody. It makes everybody's characters better, because it makes what Batman won't do matter more. It makes what Wonder Woman will do matter more, and it's fascinating and awesome. And then the New 52 happened, and they ruined it. They ruined Wonder Woman because they made her this, like, bloodthirsty monster. Like, Wonder Woman comics in New 52 sucked so badly because of how intensely she wanted to fight, and not fight in a cool way, not fight in the New 52 way where it was just all completely lame. New 52 sucked for the most part. There were some good parts about it. New 52 Justice League was good. But, yeah, there was a lot of New 52 I didn't like. Deathstroke and Wonder Woman in particular, but Wonder Woman most of all because I felt like they reduced her character to a character trait that was not necessarily her core character trait. Like, her killing Maxwell Lord came from the fact that she came from someplace else, that she had this perspective that nobody else had, and they treated the action that she took as the character trait, and it was immensely disappointing. And so going into Wonder Woman, I was afraid that that was what Wonder Woman is going to be. That she was going to be bloodthirsty, that she was going to be looking for a good fight, that she was going to be just so god-awful action movie lame. And she was not. Wonder Woman in this movie was very good as a person who... Wonder Woman was a few things in this movie. If I were to define Wonder Woman in character traits, it would be that she is eager to, like, go out and explore. She's, like, explorative. She's curious. She has a sense of justice, a sense of right and wrong, imparted on her. She's Greek, and she's, like, well-educated. She's well-learned. She knows about Greek philosophy, morals, ethics, right and wrong. She knows about these things. She's educated in these things, and while they do not... Actually, they do quote one of them, a Greek philosopher. Maybe it's Zeno, maybe it's Cicero, I don't fucking know. Maybe it's Aristotle. Oh, no, wait, that's Socrates, yeah, because she says, can you quote Socrates in the original Greek or some shit like that, or original Latin, I don't know. But, yeah, she knows about classical Greek philosophy, and so she has, like, a sense of right and wrong that's, like, thought through. That's more than just, like, I feel like this shouldn't be happening. It's like she's making moral decisions. And she also likes fighting. She also thinks that fighting is awesome, because she grew up in the society where, like, Amazons, fucking warrior women, and it's like the people that she admired fought. And this was very cool to me, is that it's not that she admired them because they fought. It's that she admired them and they fought, which was already a really good sign. The beginning of the movie was very rocky because there was a lot of that exposition stuff that's necessary to an origin story that just kind of hurts to get through. And so it's never going to be easy to get through that kind of, like, layer of an opening of a movie, layer of establishing a bunch of stuff in mythology, like that's always going to be painful. And so I was understanding towards that. However, the character trait that I really liked and what was really good as like forecasting what the rest of the movie would be like, hang on, my swivel chair is like swiveling me away from the camera. What was really good was that she liked these people and they also fought, which in the same sense that she's from somewhere else, so she kills. It's like fighting is not the character trait. Fighting is a result of the character trait. And that's what was really important. And so, yeah, in the movie, Steve Spencer, who's called Nemesis in the comics, I believe that's his code name, they completely drop that. They don't even say Wonder Woman in this. They only call her by her given name, Diana, which makes sense and I'm okay with, because, like, I would like Superman to be called Superman, you know, Captain America being called Captain America. Like, there are some superhero names that I think are really cool and are, like, better attached to the characters. Like, the characters are improved by finding reasons to call them that name. Because, like, Batman, if you don't acknowledge the audaciousness of Batman being a man dressed like a bat, if you avoid calling him Batman, if you just call him, like, the Masked Vigilante or something, I feel like there's something lost there. And so, but, however, Wonder Woman, I understand them just calling her Diana, and I understand them not calling Nemesis Nemesis. They call him Steve Spencer, which is tight. And not Chris Pratt, holy shit. Chris Pine is fine as Nemesis, is fine as Steve Spencer. And, you know, they handle the first time meeting a man thing really well, in my opinion. In fact, I say in my opinion, I want to emphasize that more than just those words. I would like to emphasize that I've never really thought about this kind of scene. I've never really, like, tried to write first time meeting a man or anything like that. It's a very unique scene. And so, like, usually I judge a scene by whether or not I think that I could improve it, whether or not I believe it's optimal, which is not always itself the optimal way to judge a scene. But I for sure don't think I could have written these scenes any better, where she's first meeting a man for the first time in her life. But I don't know if they could be better, because they're so weird to me. And so I think they were good. And I think that maybe they were as good as they could have been. I don't know, though. I don't think I'm qualified to appraise whether or not these scenes in particular were as good as they could have been. I do like that they made her know about men beforehand, and I do like that they explicitly talk about the sex thing. Like, there's a joke about it early on. Wonder Woman's like, what's that? And Chris Pine is like, oh, that's a watch. Like, he thinks she's talking about the penis, and there's, like, a good laugh from the audience when they think that, but at the same time, it's kind of a lame, obvious joke. When it's about the watch, it's, like, funnier, and when she makes a joke about the watch, and it's a joke that's not a penis joke, it's, like, not even close to a penis joke. Like, it's not she's talking about the watch, but they're really talking about his penis. No, she's, like, actually talking about the watch. And he's actually like, oh, yes, a fucking watch. It tells time. It tells me when I go to sleep. And she's like, you let a tiny watch control you? Which I guess might be a penis joke. But, like, in the context, it definitely seemed like they were just talking about the watch. And, yeah, they talk about that. They talk about sex. They joke about, like, yes, we determined that sex was best enjoyed without the man. And that they are useful for reproduction, but not very much for sex. And I'm like, huh. Well, I mean, sorry to hear that. I'm sorry about a lot of that. But yeah, they talk about it and they make jokes about it, and it's very good. I like all the lines and dialogue associated with, like, those characters meeting. I thought that was very well handled. Now, there's another situation where I wasn't expecting it to be well handled, because in general, this movie is kind of risky to put together. Like, I started noticing this as soon as I heard Wonder Woman's accent. She actually, I don't know if she speaks with exactly a Greek accent, but she speaks with an accent for, I think, all of the movie. I think she drops it a couple of times on accident, but she has, like, an accent. And this accent is, like, not subtle. Like, it's a pretty thick accent. And a main character being, like, you know, accented, not exactly white, like, not American, not speaking like an American. Like, you know, there's Chris Pine, he's American, he's speaking like an American. But the main hero of the story, Wonder Woman, the main good guy, is you know, kind of brownish, and you know, she's a white person. She's like Caucasoid, but she's speaking with an accent, and she, you know, criticizes America, she criticizes Britain, she criticizes Germany. Yeah, there were some risky aspects about this movie in terms of like what she was doing and why she was doing it and how she was doing it, and like in general in the movie, because they have Germany in the movie. It takes place in World War I, and they like don't treat Germany like Nazis. Like there's the clearly evil German guy who wants to develop like this new kind of gas weapon. I mean, they like show it like it's a big deal, like it melts people and it like breaks through gas masks, but like shitloads of gas, like gas masks barely worked in World War I, so it's like actually not that big of a deal that breaks through gas masks, so that's funny. But yeah, it's like the dad from Twin Peaks, and uh he wants to like he's like this clearly evil mad scientist dude, but at the same time there's the Germans who are like begging everybody to make peace, and there's the Germans that are just like in the trenches and stressed and hungry, and it's like they show these aspects of Germany during a world war, and they don't show them as Nazis. And this is very like cool to me, and it's kind of risky feeling, and the sun's coming out, so that's cool. But yeah, uh, they have a character that's accented. The ending celebration after World War I ends at the end of the movie. They have like British flags flying around, and it's like, you know, they don't like make it overly American. You know, like they could have fucked this up. You know, they could have had a line where Chris Pine's like, the war? You don't know about the war? You don't know about World War I? And it's like, oh god, he said World War I. They didn't call it that during the war. Yeah, there's a lot of ways they could have fucked this up. They could have made it lame. They could have made America a bigger deal than it should have been. They could have done a lot of things that weren't very good, but they gave her an accent. They made Germans human. They made it the Great War. They made it not necessarily Ares causing the war. And, oh yeah, Ares is the bad guy, by the way. But, yeah, they did all that, and I was very satisfied with that. And this is something that I would like to say real quick, is that this just came to mind for me, is that all these ideas, all these plot elements are actually things that I would say that in a way previous DC movies had, in particular Man of Steel. Man of Steel's Krypton is actually based off of Plato's Republic, with, you know, like the philosopher kings deciding how people should live and stuff. And or deciding how they live might be an oversimplification, but yeah, they had their philosopher kings. They had their like designated duties, and it's like deliberately Zack Snyder. I think Zack Snyder said, or maybe the screenwriters have said, that it was deliberately based off of Plato's Republic, and they have like these philosophical groundings for like making the story how it is, and then Zack Snyder gets a hold of it and fucks it up, and it's really sad and depressing. And so, like these ideas that they have are not exactly alien to like strong philosophical ideas are not exactly alien to the DC movies and the DC movie universe, and the DC universe in general. So where the movie really shines, what I really should be talking about when I talk about how the movie is good, I mean, I guess I already mentioned how the characters are good, but also how it's good visually and action-wise. And these sound like things that aren't as interesting as like the ideas, characters, philosophies, and stuff, but how the movie is visually represented, it's a visual medium, and it's very as much important as the characters themselves, that the visuals are communicating something and developing an emotion as much as the characters are. So allow me to spend a moment talking about those. So there are some interesting like dynamics in the like color palette of the movie that I didn't actually notice until like halfway through or more. Now, when we first start, we're on Themyscira, we're on Paradise Island, and everything is green and blue and white and gold and colorful and red and magical looking, and very good blacks as well, like dark blues and stuff. They have like this senator in the movie that is dressed in armor and jacked, and I'm like, I wish our senators were that jacked. But yeah, they like have this world of color and magic and stuff. And then we go to Britain, where it's like slightly less colorful, and then we go to the war, where things suck. And in this like war scene that we have, where like we're in the trenches and Wonder Woman's like, we got to save the people. People are being enslaved. What the fuck is going on here? And Chris Pine's like, listen, we're here to do a job. We're here to do a mission. We're here to end the war. Not fight the war. And like everything's gray, drab, depressing. And then Wonder Woman, completely defiant of Chris Pine's attitudes about their mission, decides that this is our mission. If ending the war is the mission, then fighting the war is the mission. We got to go out. We got to stop this fighting. We got to take this town back. We got to end this slavery that they've put them in. And she steps out of the trench and she advances on the Germans. And while she does this, she like casts off her black outfit that she got, her like business lady outfit, and she steps out into the line of fire. And she does so in this like crimson bustier, like gold and crimson and blue, and it's like super colorful and super awesome. And she starts getting shot at, and she's an absolute superhero. And this is one of the best scenes in the movie, in my opinion, where Wonder Woman like is pushing these beliefs this whole time about combat and this kind of air of superiority towards the world outside of Themyscira. And there's some conflict with her and Chris Pine about it. They talk about like watches are cool, ice cream is cool. I mean, they don't like explicitly say this, but like she's critical of like ladies' fashion and people's position in the world, and she's critical of all these things. And it's like nothing but a debate until she steps out of the trench, and Chris Pine sees her like block machine gun fire with a shield, and like the entire like Western Front sees one lady go out there with a shield and take a German trench. And they go and they support her because it's bigger than just like something that she can do on her own, but and not from like lack of trying, but just like in terms of scale, it's just too big for her to condense into her doing that in one scene. Basically, what I'm saying is that they don't go and help her because she needs it. They go and help her so that the scene will end in like less than a year. But yeah, that's a really excellent scene, and it's a really excellent visual. The conversation I kept hoping for, the conversation I kept waiting for, really, was what if she met a German instead of an American? Like, she speaks German. She speaks, like, hundreds of languages, because they're Amazons, and somehow they know how to speak hundreds of languages. I'm not going to question it. She also, like, deflects bullets with her arms, so I'm not going to give him shit for knowing how to speak hundreds of languages, but if a German had washed up on the shore of, Paradise Island, would she have fought on the German side? Like I said, she makes moral decisions, so it's very likely that she would have seen the evil of their ways. Like, not the evil of the German ways, because like I said, it's not a very black and white war. It's like, they use gas and they want to like keep fighting even though there's like this opportunity for peace, and like the same things that made everybody a bad guy in World War One made Germans a bad guy. Would she have fought on their side? Would she have fought to end the war in a different direction, in the Germans' favor rather than the British' favor? And yeah, but that's what I wanted. That's not what I got, but the scenes that I got were also good, and so I'm not going to give him too much shit. But yeah, some good visual poetry. Right up until the end, I wasn't a huge fan. Spoilers obviously, but I wasn't a huge fan of the aesthetics of the final battle because it was a bit over the top. There wasn't really a reason for it not to be, I guess. It was a battle between, it was a fist fight between gods, and it was built up sufficiently. Like, the whole movie, Diana believes that if she stops Ares, if she kills Ares, what she believes is her destiny, is her purpose, is the job of an Amazon is to kill Ares, the fighting will stop. And the debate as to whether or not this will actually work is built up through the whole movie. The final battle with Ares, where she actually fights him, is a battle that she's been fighting the whole time. And for that reason, the battle is really good. It's much better than Zod vs. Superman, for sure. And, yeah, this definitely excuses a lot of the over-the-topness in the visuals. Not that it exactly needs an excuse. And I thought of this, like, while I was just stewing on the movie afterwards, that there doesn't need to really be a reason to make it over the top if you just kind of desire for it to be over the top. Like, I would prefer a more downplayed conflict between her and Ares. But what they had was pretty awesome too. And so I don't think there's anything more artistically pure about what was going on in my head and what I would have done. There's nothing so honest about an image with less explosions than an image with more explosions. That there's nothing inherently sinful about explosions, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And so I understand them ending the movie the way they did with the fight that they did, because it felt like it meant a whole lot. However, there is one thing I dislike about the end of the movie. Um, they have Ares throw the mad scientist lady in front of her, and he's like, people are shit and not deserving of sympathy and can't be good, and I just gave them the tools to fight. I didn't make them fight. They fought on their own. And here's the scientist lady that was developing this gas that was going to kill shitloads of people, and she's cruel and horrible, and kill her because humans don't deserve sympathy. And Wonder Woman doesn't do it because, she believes humans do deserve sympathy, which I like. Except I don't like that she also kills a bunch of German soldiers that were kind of probably just drafted and not there because they particularly wanted to be. And, I understand that Wonder Woman is willing to kill, but, and I understand that in this situation, if she did kill this particular person at this particular moment, she would have been submitting to Ares and his idea of how the world should work. So I understood why she didn't kill this person as a way of proving a point, but I felt like they could have established that more, that she wanted to kill this person, but, didn't, because it wasn't like she was a combatant. It wasn't like she was a soldier in a trench. She was a criminal. She committed crimes against humanity. She should be tried and executed, but not killed in cold blood. I guess what I'm saying is that if they needed to explain why she was sparing her, whereas she killed other people in the movie, because, I personally believe that there's a moral difference between, an enemy combatant in a war and a person that you are morally opposed to. Like, an enemy combatant in war, somebody who chooses to be there, chooses to fight you on, ideological grounds, they can never do anything bad to you and just be in a place that, war is going on. And I don't think that you are I don't exactly think you're justified in killing them, but I think a person should not be judged too morally harshly for killing an enemy combatant when they are at war. However, this person was a scientist whose science was being used for war, and even though they knew that, even though they were willingly giving it up for that reason, they were still somebody who was a criminal against humanity rather than an enemy combatant. Therefore, their crimes should be judged, and that judgment should be executed. Obviously, not killed because they are disliked. And that is why Wonder Woman didn't kill the scientist lady, is because Ares was telling her to kill the scientist lady because she disliked her. And that is wrong. Holy shit, is my computer going to sleep because I'm recording for so long? Yeah. And so, I understand that, and I liked that, but it could have used some more expansion as an idea. But yeah, in general, I liked that big climax that the movie had. Other things that I liked in the movie that were just speckled throughout. I talked about the visual poetry. I liked the characters that they had. They had a supporting cast, and this is where I would start liking. This is where I would like to start making comparisons to Captain America, which is a movie of similar tone and content. One of the many things that it had in common was the wacky band of side characters that accompany them on their mission. And in Captain America, it was lame and stupid, where they had the black one, the Asian one, the British one, and it was dumb, and I didn't like it. It felt tokenistic, and it felt like they weren't characters, and they felt uninteresting. And they are obviously still supporting characters. They're not as fleshed out as Diane and Nemesis. But in Captain America, they were tokenistic and didn't have opinions of their own. In Wonder Woman, they definitely do. And this was actually something I was super surprised to see, is because, like, there's a depth of good writing to the fact that, like, more than once, over more than one issue, the side characters voice their opinions on something. And this was, like, very, very interesting and very good to me that, like, they had more to these characters than just, like, one scene jokes or something like that. You know, like how I felt Captain America had them, basically. And so, yeah, that was, like, a truly excellent touch to the movie. Like, that's an attention to detail and a nuance that is really easy to overlook. I can speak from experience that, like, you have to make that deliberate decision to have your side characters mean something in a story. And so, yeah, that was very good. Now, before I get started with the lot of Captain America comparisons, I would like to establish why I'm comparing it to Captain America, because it is not just the fact that she is kind of like the first superhero in the DC universe, and it's not just the fact that it takes place in, like, you know, early 20th century with a Great World War. It is the fact that they are both very idealistic characters, and they both go into these missions against characters that kind of represent all the chaos and evil that war represents. They're kind of like warlike figures. Red Skull was very similar to Ares in a lot of ways, except for his attachment to Germany and the mortal coil. Ares did not have to worry about being mortal, and so he didn't have any kind of like earthly attachments like the Red Skull did. Now, in Captain America, however, I didn't feel like the conflict between Red Skull and Captain America was built up for very long. In fact, they spent so much time building up Captain America as a pseudo-political figure that, like, this figure that is brought up by the government and advertised by the government and has to defy the government in order to get anything done, like, so much time is spent on that I think that it forgets in between, like, the first act and the last act of the movie that it is a... Hang on, I'm going to close my door. That it is a movie that is about, like, fucking war, you know? Like, it's interesting because I don't think that a superhero movie should be, like, explicitly about war. Like, superheroes should sort of not be above that, but, like, basically do what Wonder Woman did, where they take the war and they say, like, I am here, things are different now. And in Captain America, things weren't extremely different feeling, and yeah, the fight that he was fighting was not as interesting. Wonder Woman gets to Ares, and Ares isn't like the German general that she thought he was. He's really the like, British bureaucrat. This is really interesting to me that, like, there was a few ways they could have handled Ares. You know, they could have had it so where he was the incompetent British general. They could have had it where he was the scientist, where he was like this big science is evil message, which would have, you know, given Wonder Woman something to fight against. She was in a very ascientific society. But instead they made her, like, they made the antithesis of Wonder Woman not the science which killed people, or the war which killed people, because she was warlike, and she appreciated critical thought, which is why she liked philosophy. The antithesis of Wonder Woman was the bureaucracy that prolonged conflict and created conflict where none previously existed, which is super interesting to me, and I think they still could have handled it in some different ways that I think, in my opinion, would have been better, but I think they handled it plenty fine. Not sure it's completely consistent with the Dragon Ball Z kind of fistfight they had at the end, but I thought that it was still pretty wonderful. Those two things, the bureaucracy as the antithesis of Wonder Woman, and the Dragon Ball Z fight at the end, not sure they went together pretty super well exactly, but as individual pieces, I think they were very strong. I think that wraps up just about everything I have to say about Wonder Woman right now. I know I'm going to think about 50 million different things to say that are awesome and intelligent and clever immediately afterwards, but yeah, that is what I thought about Wonder Woman. That is a pretty strong recommendation. That is the most fun I've had in the theater since the last scene of La La Land and some of the first scenes of La La Land, but not like the middle of La La Land. Thank you everybody for watching. Chloe and Nita. I'm sure I'll have a lot of Wonder Woman to talk about even after I've said all these words. I will see you all next time.